Unemployed and Afraid acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on and of the land where you, the listener, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend our respect to any First Nations, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today, acknowledging that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the messy middle of being out on your own and starting over with the people who've done it. I'm your host, Kim Curtin. Thank you for being here. Let's get into today's story of starting over.
Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Unemployed and Afraid, the stories of starting over, with a guest I was so looking forward to talking to. And that's because there's something I've noticed on my own journey of starting over. It's that certain people float into your awareness and they grab you. Their energy grabs you, their vibe grabs you in a way that you can't explain, but it just feels kind of important, like it's happening for a reason. And that whole notice the signs, the universe speaks to you stuff, it might be a little woo-woo, but I swear the universe rarely gets it wrong. And I learned so much from this guest, the gorgeous Naomi, the founder of Tasmanian Shacklife. I knew her story would be impactful, but she totally blew me out of the water. She has so much valuable insight to share around making changes that speak to you, following your instincts, your gut feelings, even when you can't explain what or why the instinct even exists. A quick trigger warning, we do touch on mental health, suicide, and bullying. So if this episode isn't for you, that's perfectly fine. And I look forward to connecting with you and supporting you in future episodes. If you've ever wanted to run away and go off grid though, strap in for this chat to learn about the magic that can come from distancing to reconnect with yourself. And one final disclaimer from me before I shut up and we get into it, where I kind of don't shut up, I'm kind of all through it, so sorry. But our sound may be a little quiet in spots. I hope you can bear with us and stick with it so you get to hear all the ins and outs of this fabulous lady's journey. As always, if you love the episode, please consider dropping some stars if you're on Apple Podcasts, a review, some love hearts across the socials or across Spotify or anywhere else you get your pods. And please share it with anyone you think might find something valuable in the generous stories that are shared. And a big thank you to you for being here, for supporting the show. You're the best. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Naomi Hume, aka the aesthetically talented creator of Tasmanian Shacklife. If you haven't heard of Tasmanian Shacklife before, pause, go open Instagram and enjoy, because Naomi has created the perfect ode to the humble Tasmanian shack. It's a platform that celebrates the originals, shares shack stories, and connects you to find unique shack stays, such as the incredible standalone in Eaglehawk Neck, Whale Song Shack in Falmouth, and Wombat Lodge on Flinders Island, and so many more beautiful homes. Finding her way through a path she never could have imagined, through not one, but two, maybe three major moments of starting over, have brought her here to the person we are lucky enough to meet today. Naomi, welcome to Unemployed and Afraid.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel a bit, am I meant to be here?
You absolutely are.
Thank you so much for connecting with me. I love it.
It's my absolute pleasure. It's hard not to fall absolutely in love with the work you produce through Tasmanian Shacklife alone. The imagery, the words that go behind the imagery, it really is beautiful. So you've created something, a very special corner of the internet. So yes, listener, if you haven't seen it before, go enjoy, get ready to double tap the hell out of it. Before we get into how you made that beautiful place, a little icebreaker for you. I'm wondering, how would your best friend describe you?
Oh, gosh. Tall. She's all of like 5'6". We're a bit like, the movie Twins, Arnie and DeVito. Yeah, we're very much like Arnie and DeVito. She calls me her Arnie. She also always calls me by my maiden name. And so I've never gone anything but Chandler to her. And she's certainly my homie, and she would describe me as her go-to, her person that she rings to when she needs a shack stay, mainly at mine. And she's the best person in administration, and I am the worst, and I am more the creative side of things. So we work well together as Arnie and DeVito. We both have our assets, and she would definitely describe me as free, but also, her person, and I'm, she's my person as well. So neither of us are hard work. We've had a lot of hard work people in our life, but we just take it as it is and roll from there.
That's so nice. And being described as someone's person is, I think, the greatest compliment. So that's really lovely. I hope she listens to this and feels the love. That's beautiful. So who, Naomi, were you before you were the creator of Tasmanian Shacklife?
I was a little lost, I'm not going to lie. I was certainly working the suit life. I've had a shack in my life, my entire life, and for a long period of time, 2 shacks, both family shacks. One we lost through, arguments and family and conflict, and that went to the wayside when I was 9. So we fully gravitated to a shack that was closer to home that we'd always had. And that's where I had grown up. That was literally my home. I spent every holiday weekend there. And then for this long period of time, I hadn't been. I think in 8 years I'd maybe visited twice. It's only an hour and a half of home, but that showed the kind of life that I was living. My husband at the time hated going there, hated the long job, hated being present there. So I was very much in a life of vanilla. It was more to be seen, and it wasn't a terrible life. It was safe, and it looked good. But I was miserable. I really was miserable. So the life was safe. I was working for government. I had all of those ducks lined up. But there was a big sounding board of being very connected to feelings and emotions. I've always been that way, but kind of ignored them throughout that time. Was just rolling with what I was supposed to do, as a mum and an employee, and all the stuff that goes with that. And it wasn't until I started losing members of my family and I missed them that I needed to get back there. And that started the change, and among with other things, started the change with where I needed to progress to be, where I wanted to be. And so that was a momentum of change. And with that came things like Tasmanian Shacklife, change of careers and things like that.
And how did it feel to work in the government sort of day to day? It's a field that I'm not familiar with how the day kind of rolls out and looks. I'd love to know what it's like.
Oh, really? I was a punching board. I was upfront customer service for 10 years of my life, from dog complaints, parking fines, disputes, planning. Like, it was an incredible, versatile place to work within the community, but it was extremely exhausting as well, and the day was the same every day. You knew you were going to get copper hard day. You're going to have some great, people that you would chat to, but most people that come in are pretty upset about something. They've got to pay something or they've got to deal with something. So as nice as you can be, and usually I got away with that, it was still, it was great to have a job like that. It wasn't easy to get into. I'd gone from working in vineyards and retail before then. So it was great to secure the job, and I did it for a long time because it was a good job. And my husband at the time worked there as well, so it was easy. But it was also extremely not who I was meant to do or be, or what I really wanted to connect and do. Yeah.
I love that you use the quotation marks around the term good job. It sounds like it was something you sort of felt like you had to stay in, had to be in. And so what happened to prompt you to start over, to leave that role?
It really was a series of events. I got seconded from customer service because I sort of put my hand up to say, I need a bit of change here. And I'm someone who's always relished in change. I've I moved house a lot, changed cars a lot. And then suddenly I was just stuck, same job, same house, same husband. But it was really just like I was getting a bit bored. So I asked to be seconded and covered maternity leaves and things like that. And I ended up in Parks and Recreation, which was a really nice space. I met some people there that had done side jobs as guiding. And it was something that I was interested in and always kind of took how do you do that? And how do you, and so it was nice to connect with them and go, oh, hey, you know this area really well. You'd be a great guide kind of thing. So it started that momentum of going, maybe I could just quit and go do this that I really wanted to do. And at the time I went back and spoke to my husband about it and he's like, no way, why would you want to leave this job? And, we've got a mortgage to pay and we've got children to raise and all the rest of it. Like you can't do that. You're not going to sort of do that. And so I stayed, but it was really the pinnacle moment when I was diagnosed with cervical cancer and that things started to really just change for me mentally. I became stronger and I needed to sort of go, okay, these people I have in my life are not who I'm meant to be spending my time with, and really just started the progression of like, what do I kind of want to do? Where do I want it to be? And, just started taking those steps forward. Initially, it was a step to the side. It was a career change into property management. A good friend was running a property management company. It was really successful for her. We'd worked together in the past, briefly in property management. So I jumped in for her. And I was only going to do 1 day a week and do a couple of days a week at council. And within the first day, I was like, oh, I love this. I love being out and about. I love helping people find houses. And this is going to be amazing. And it was good for a little while. It sort of took me out of council. I was able to, separate from my husband, move to the sticks, did all of the things I thought I was supposed to be doing. And at the time as well, I created a little side community business of fashion and was selling pre-loved fashion, and that ended up going for a few years. And but it was busy. It was super busy. I was single mum of 2 boys, and just trying to still fit the profile of what people expected me to be doing, working full-time, running a side market, being a mum, dealing with health, losing family, and still just, trying to get to that shack as much as I could. There was one stage I actually had the gutter held up with my shoelaces. That's where I was at. That's where I was at with trying to fix things myself and do things myself. No hot water, but no power. But just the happiest I could be was always back at that shack at the place of peace.
That's a lot to be managing at once. I feel like the shoelace in the gutter visual seems like a bit of a euphemism.
I've got a photo of me doing it. My son actually took a photo of me climbing up onto the second story of the shack to tie the shoelaces on because the gutter had come down in the storm and I literally had nothing.
Oh, wow.
But his shoelaces. So
but you got to do what you got to do sometimes when you're working through, something that sounds like a lot of pressure to have been working through at that time. What sort of, practices or moments in your day helped you manage and keep putting one foot in front of the other through that stage?
I've always been someone who just focuses on, look, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it is just shit. You just I just can't do it. There'd be so many mornings where I was just so exhausted from just numbing myself and just, being everyone else's mate and trying to, fit into my size 10s and, doing all the things I was trying to do. But I've always just got on with it. And for me, it's just, I'm emotionally affected by things, but I just can't dwell until I need to. So for me, it's always just going, hey, gosh, it's, taking the simple things like the drive to work is always beautiful. There's always something in that moment of meditation almost to go, hey, this is the sun is hitting the river really beautifully this morning. Oh my God, the golden elms look so green. Like for me, it's always just been that revert to simplicity in nature that's okay for me to get through some parts of my day. It's just that appreciation of just going, it's okay. But, God, no, it's not to say that I'm not crashing down in a pile in other moments. But I just don't tend to overthink too much. I just go, okay, this is today. Let's just do today. And I try not to think about all the other stuff that was impacting me at the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you took a nice little side step there into property management, which I find really interesting. I think sometimes when we're facing a great change or a different future that we want for ourselves, we can go to the end goal straight away. What is it going to look like? Okay, I have to do everything that I can to get to that end goal. But you sort of flirted around a little bit of an outside goal to just kind of see what's stuck. And
I just didn't know how. I didn't know how, Kim. I had no idea how to get into guiding, and I didn't give myself enough time to work that out. It was literally over a barbecue. Friend came down and she's like, hey, we're strapped. We're so busy. I was like, oh, hey, I'll come and help. So that's how it landed in property management. And I like doing customer service and I enjoy people and I loved houses and I loved that whole, so it was good. It was a good fit for me at the time. I just couldn't do the dynamic of a lot of women in a stressful situation. Property management is high demand. And I couldn't fit the molds of, Friday night drinks and all the, things that come with working with women, and it became exhausting trying to fit all the time.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started kind of more thinking about, and in that interim I met a new partner who was also doing work within the property management industry as a tradesman. We met spontaneously, outside of that, but that played into it as well. So it was a challenge of accepting that I was changing for them. And moving on. And with that, it just really did start to fall apart quite, and I just was so bloody miserable. And we've all been in jobs where we're miserable and just keep doing it. And I did keep doing it for a long time because I didn't want to let my friend down. But the further I sort of stepped away from that, the further I realized this person is not my friend. She's not at all. I'm just here for her business. And it was a hard pill to swallow because we had been friends for a long time, but just a completely different way of thinking about who we were, and who she thought I was, which wasn't who I really was. So, and that was that turning point for me, just going, I just can't be fucked anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do financially. But I'm just not doing this anymore. Like, I just can't. And that was that moment that we talked about of me getting a lady wax and the beautician.
I love this story.
I was just venting, and the beautician was just like, why the hell are you doing this? And I don't know. I'm out. Like, I'm going back to work and I'm quitting, like that's such why didn't I think of that?
The beautician in a lady wax situation, so much clarity and so much, that's like, that can't cut through, nothing will. That's a great thing to have said.
Oh, yeah, and it was really that leading up to that point, I should mention as well, I started spending a lot more time at the shack. So I was just getting away, instead of doing the Sunday lunch at the wineries and their after work drinks. And I was just going, no, I need to go to the shack. So that's where I was just packing up my car and going away. So I started to drop out of the crew, the circle of it anyway. And so that's when I started Tasmanian Shacklife, because I was there I was connecting again. I was seeing other people at their shacks, and I just wanted to tell stories. So originally Tasmanian Shacklife was created out of the emotion of me missing the shack, others missing their shack, and me sort of seeing that people were bulldozing shacks to build, because they're usually in prime locations, hey? Like they're on the coast or in these beautiful settings. People were bulldozing the shacks to create, you know, the houses that they wanted, you know, the shiny ones. And so I created it to tell stories of shacks because I felt like we were losing them. So it created that momentum of Save the Shack. And that was the start of that. So I was reconnecting with that space, which is where I'm supposed to, you know, be. And then that momentum of going, hey, I just can't do these people in property management anymore. Getting a lady wax and then going, righto, I'm done confident, now.
Waxed, ready to quit.
Yeah, that's it. Smooth, ready to roll in. And it was really, I went in and she was amazing. My friend / boss, she just said to me, I remember sort of having a breakdown and not knowing what I wanted to do. And it was good like that, but very much put back on me. There was no ownership for this malicious kind of creation that was within this workspace. And, it really belittled me in going. I worked the 3 weeks, like before I had to finish, and it was hard. I was doing a lot of other people's jobs. I was just made to feel really low, really beneath them all. And by the time I left, I was like, I'm never going to be friends with this person again. Like this is it. And I was okay with it until I wasn't okay with it.
Yeah.
There was, you know, when you leave somewhere or you sort of departed from something, you stalk the socials, you see what's going on, you know, that life that you left, you want to know what's happening or if you're doing better than them and all the rest. And it was the worst. There was just so much sly, like directed stuff towards me. I just took everything to heart. Yeah. And I had no idea what I was going. I left this job with no plans of what I met this new guy. He had 3 he had 3 sons, sort of all under the age of 8. I had 2 sons, and we were trying to bring families together, and there was a lot sort of happening. And I left my job just going, I can stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm going to do this. But it was really low. There was a lot of low times there. There was complete numb times. And yeah, you know, a lot of letters written and a lot of letters burnt.
Yes.
And then I was just like, right, I need to get my ass into gear and refocus on how the hell a woman of, you know, in her mid-30s is going to compete with all these young, you know, teenagers and early 20 guides, you know, that can carry a pack horse, and I've got a crook back and, you know, hips. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. So, then I just refocused and trained, got my bronze medallion, got my first aid certificate, got really sick, but just kept doing it. Got an interview with a really bespoke, beautiful tourism company. Didn't get the job, reapplied, and they said, hey, why don't you come out and have a meal with us? We don't usually do this, but we know that you want to be a part of it. And I did the meal and connected with some great people on that. So familiar is like a familiar, like you go do the product. So
I'm so glad you explained that for me, because I was like nodding, like, I don't think I know what that is. So thank you for explaining.
Yeah. So it was a couple of day walk experience out on Bay of Fires. So I was very familiar with that area. That's where the shack is. So I was like, I'm going to nail this. They're going to regret not hiring me. I'm going to tell them what every type of species on this beach is. And they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to be all over this. And it was great. It was really, really great trip. And that's where I met my homie, what I was doing, my person, my best day. So we literally met on that trip. And that was my start of finding Tasmania, finding the people that love it, finding the people that connect with it. They were the people that I was supposed to be working with, that I eventually called friends. And even I didn't have a bloody clue, but I winged it enough to sort of do it. And I didn't guide too much. I got another job with a company working in their guest services, but it gave me an insight and an opportunity to do the hikes. As in guest services, and you have to experience these hikes so you know what you're trying to sell. So it gave me a really beautiful balance of doing that, and Shacklife grew with that because I was just getting immersed, connecting, meeting the right people, getting out in it, and it just grew momentum with that sort of space. But yeah, I did that for a few years, and then I kind of stopped as well. We had an incident where a good friend of ours committed suicide, and at his funeral, I was chatting to a guy who was a neighbour, and was also first on scene with us. And I didn't know it at the time, but later on we caught up again at a coffee shop, and he just happened to run a tourism business as well. So I ended up going to work for him, and that was at the start of COVID.
That glorious thing.
So I went to work for him as a marketing creator. I thought, well, hello, like tourism, creating. I have no degree in marketing, but hey, I can make things look good. Let's do this.
Yes, you can.
And I was literally in the job like 6 weeks. So then I was homeschooling 5 boys and trying to run 32 walking experiences and their content and 8 social media pages from home and on job keepers. And then
your screen time must have been huge.
Let's just say I was doing lots of excursions with the boys. So I could kind of get out of the house and, go in that 5-kilometre radius. And so, we've all got stories of COVID and challenges around that and trying to run homes and keep jobs and raise families. And, in Tassie, we were pretty lucky in that space. But for me, it was on that cusp of going, hey, this job's really over my head. I've never done any of the walk experiences that they had on their business profile. So it was super hard for me to connect with the content. I had no idea. I'm like, day 4 on this walk, you do this. I don't know, it was really hard. Really, really hard for me, for someone who needs to feel connection to share. It was a hard space, particularly hard manager again. It's very different to where I'd come from, very isolating. So that was another one of my just threw it to the wind and just literally hadn't thought about it. Got to work that day, made a cup of tea. My general manager and the owner of the business that I had met, that gave me the opportunity, were sitting in the office, and I just walked in and said, I'm leaving.
Wow.
I feel really sad and I need to go to the shack. And I just said, I can't do this job from the shack and I can't be anybody. And I feel like a terrible person at the moment for doing this, but I feel like a terrible mother because I'm not present. I feel like a terrible friend, and I just feel so completely deflated. And the only place I know to make me feel better is at the shack, and I'm going to go live there. So that was it. That wrapped that job up, and that was the start of really sort of falling apart and coming together again, and having the last 12 months off and growing Tasmanian Shacklife into a business and just doing the most random stuff. I lived at the shack for a month, which is completely off-grid, still no power, still a long drop, literally just like fishing, walking the dunes, and just, you know, I thought I was going to the shack team. I had all these goals. I thought, I'm going to work out what the hell I'm doing. I'm going to lose 5 kilos. I'm going to take my keyboard and finally learn how to play the piano. I'm going to be smoking hot by the time I come back to reality, you know.
Yeah.
No, that didn't happen either. So yeah, but I did reground. I did I felt, you know, shit for the first few weeks. Like I felt like a shit mom because I wasn't there with the boys. I wasn't there for my husband. You know, but I was just numb. And I needed to do that. I needed to be selfish because I hadn't mentioned, but I was a mum at 19 and before that I was always looking after my siblings. So I was always grown up and I had never stopped working, besides that little interim when I left property management, and then like I think 2.5 months. So I had training and stuff, but I never really stopped. So it was a full selfish moment and I felt so much guilt. And then my beautiful supportive husband, like, you need to do this, so just do this. And here's the whole reason I had 12 months off as well.
Wow.
Like, do what you need to do. You'll find what you want to do. If you want to take photos or if you want to do guiding work, just pick up what you can, create the opportunities. So I did.
What a beautiful partner, first of all, to recognise what you needed, but also what a beautiful gift that you've given to yourself to allow the space to explore all of those opportunities, but also sit in the fact that maybe you're in something that didn't feel right, even though you thought it should be right, and at a time it might have been. That's an incredible journey that you've been through.
Something I'm really passionate about, Kim, and I don't know why it frustrates me so much as well. I just can't stand people that stay because they feel they have to. Yeah. For any reason, for, you know, what the public will think of them, what others will think of, what they will think of themselves. They stay in mundane marriages. They stay in places for whatever valued reasons they feel to themselves, but they're so completely bloody unhappy. And I'm just never that. I can't be that person. I'm far too passionate. So any listeners that, you know, have jumped on to listen to me, if you're in that space, just do something to change it for yourself. Just be a little bit selfish. I know it's about the kids. I know it's about the society, but just stop for a second and, you know, take a moment of appreciation for who you are and what else you can be.
Holding the ones we love the most close, but also holding ourselves close is wonderful advice to give to anybody, and it's a wonderful gift to give to yourself as well. So, and I know the world is grateful for you having given that to yourself, because what you're doing now is, you know, living in your truth and still following your journey and still allowing things to change. And, you know, every time one more person does that for themselves, it gives others permission to do the same. And it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much, Kim, for saying that. It's so sweet of you. Too sweet. It's just really sweet of you. I'm someone who carries guilt for like, have I done enough? Am I, you know, and still like I've got a son who's 19. And I think, wow, he rode my early 20s with me, and him and I we've done life together. Like we've grown together. And I still have guilt that, you know, I didn't give him enough, or I didn't have enough money to do things with him. And did I raise him well? And we literally did a road trip last week to Hobart, and he was loving life, and we're playing all the tunes that we love to play, and his girlfriend was in the back, and she made the comment just going, "You two are like best friends." Oh. And he's like, "Yeah." And she was just like, "You guys have done so much together." And Travis was like, I've done more than any of my mates. And I was like, really? But you never were in like all the tennis groups and soccer clubs and stuff like that. He's like, no, Mum, but I've hiked so many mountains of Tasmania. I've seen so much that we've done together. I've got so many memories. And that's where I think that's when I was selfish and took that opportunity for me to grow so that I can teach him more.
Wow.
To, you know, outside of ourselves, what else can we do and be? And it's been in my moments where I've tried to change that I'm now teaching the boys how to be and do, you know, and be better humans themselves, because I haven't just stayed upset, mundane and you know, vanilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a perfect description of vanilla. I love that. Definitely, you are the polar opposite of vanilla now in your fabulous dress and your fabulous business in Tasmanian Shacklife, which has, even just since I've been following you, I've just seen that exciting evolution, the launch of your website and the launch of connecting consumers directly with these stays that they may not realise the history in by just searching them through, you know, the traditional realms, being able to understand their beautiful history. It has been such a pleasure to watch that grow. It feels very natural and organic, and just it's beautiful content to look at as well. Like, it's aesthetically stunning. But when did you realise that Tasmanian Shacklife could be more than your, you know, outlet, your creative space?
I think I've always undervalued what Tasmanian Shacklife is, and I've also been quite torn about it because I created the space to save the shack. Mm-hmm. And then it felt like this momentum of lots of Airbnbs, lots of real estate being purchased, and that whole value of shack for Tasmanians was kind of being lost for people that, you know, wanted their Instagram photo at an aesthetically pleasing property. And so it started to create a divide for me. So then I was just like, oh, do I really want to keep doing this? Like, this is not what I wanted. But it was that moment of realization going, if I find places to stay and shacks that are, you know, being hosted, but if I find the right host that has a beautiful story and they've put their heart into that stay and the right looking uniqueness to that property, then I'll have them on this platform. It really was quite a progression of finding the right look. But for me, it's always been heart connection. So I still get a lot of hosts, owners that have reached out to me and going, how do I get on your platform? And I'll be like, hey, I'm happy to give you a shout out, but I was like, what's your story? And they don't have one. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, you can't be part of my family. Because I've really had to, that's the only way I've valued sort of almost exposing all these Tasmanian secrets. And I just don't want to lose any authenticity to what is Tasmanian Shacklife, what is Shacklife to people, to families, what I grew up knowing. And then I've kind of had to look at it, hey, I would love someone to book that shack stay and make a memory on that week with their kids and family and have that for themselves because they haven't got a shack. Yeah. So it's really been that, okay, let's go full gear with this because people want it. So give it to them. I've never done it for money, ever. I've only ever done it because I'm genuinely heart connected to people creating memories at shacks. And it's as simple as that. I never have any intent for any of the photographs that I stay. I literally will go there, feel a space, take a photo. It's never, it's just, you know, that place of immersement and just going, okay, great. This is amazing. I can tell a little story about this, and that's it. There's never been any other intent with it.
Wow. It sounds like a real drop into the present in those spaces that you're experiencing and capturing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I still feel torn, Kim. Like, I'm still like, save the shirt, you know, like I still, and all the people that are now flocking into Tasmania and going to all these places that I've, you know, tailored itineraries around and all of that. I'm like, like I still don't want to lose what is the essence of Tasmanian Shacklife. So I still get quite torn. Like I'm like, yay, people are here experiencing it. And then I'm like, hey, get off my beach.
Yeah.
So I'm still quite torn. But I guess in that sense, even on Tasmanian Shacklife, my shack isn't an Airbnb. It can't be, and it wouldn't be. So I still like to keep that quite private. So I find refuge in that. But I still enjoy the storytelling of everybody else's.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's your place to go to reconnect with your own creativity and your own ability to tell stories.
Oh, it's the end of a dirt road as well. So even when someone's like driving down there, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Get off my lawn. You know, like, what did you see? How did you get here? You know, like I'm still like, my husband calls me Miss Pat, which is my nan who had the shack. She was very much like that as well. You know, motorbikes go flying past and there's kids on, you know, and they'd be cutting up the sand dunes and the dirt behind us. And she may have just been filleting a fish or getting some ab, and she'd have like the guts and stuff all over her apron, and she'd be out there with a filleting knife going, you know, bugger off. So I still get like that. And James, oh, here comes Miss Pat.
That's brilliant. But it's your place.
But then I expose all these places, and like it's such a, you know, shades of grey area.
Hey, you know, if we're all many sides, aren't we? And there's all, you know, depending on the day, there's lots of, you know, I often get described as a walking contradiction. So it's I can understand the push pull between the two.
There's never been any negative, and that's what I've pulled out of it. So 5 years now, Tasmanian Shacklife has been my little hobby, you know, my place of peace. I've never sort of put anything much into it because it's not hard work, and I have made the best connections of my entire life with people, you know, like yourself, like all of my beautiful hosts, beautiful photographers. Like it's just been this most incredible journey. There's been no negative. I've stayed at the most incredible stays throughout Tasmania, places I would have never been able to stay or afford to do. We got married at our shack this year. You know, like it's been this beautiful beginning of what other people can do. And now I see weddings all the time at shacks, and it's just people want that. And I love it. I just love that they see Tasmania as value now. And it is just such an incredible place.
It really is an amazing place. And you are now balancing another change in your life. You have taken on a full-time role. So tell me a little bit about that, as well as Tasmanian Shacklife and all that comes with it.
Yeah, there was this epiphany back in September where I was like, I was doing a bit of guide work for my homie girlfriend, because she started a bespoke Tasmanian tourism business. So I was doing a lot of guiding for her, which seen me climbing mountains, and people got you know, getting married at the top, and just doing tailored itineraries of the Tamar Valley farm gate experiences. And it was amazing, but very vulnerable. You know, lots of cancellations, not that security. And I'd had 12 months of doing it, and it was great, but I was getting to that time of just going, hey, a little bit sick of myself. You know, my husband's still going to work every day. The boys are still going to school, and I became a very good domestic engineer. And, you know,
that's the best term.
And it didn't matter how many hills I was climbing around my home, like the town that we live in. It just wasn't enough. And I was getting a bit bored because you know, and just getting a little bit of, am I giving enough to this, what I, you know, financially to the family? And I was getting a bit, you know, spiraling back down again into that, am I worth it kind of headspace. So I literally put a call out on socials just going, hey, this is me. And I'm looking for a job. Does anyone have one?
That's so cool.
So that was pretty much it. And a particular girl reached out from Australian Community Media, and they run up a local newspaper, and they were looking for a tourism representative to write their Travelways create their Travelways magazine. And here I am.
Wow. And just another wonderful little step in the journey to just, constantly curating the perfect life that fits you in the moment. And I think that is
just
brilliant.
Constantly winging jobs that I'm not qualified for.
Preach, it's been me my entire life. Example A, this podcast.
Yep.
No, and how is that balance for you now? Full-time shack life.
It's, I miss times of the last 12 months, that's for sure. Like, holy heck, like when you've got 5 boys with sports commitments and schooling and, a husband working full-time and me working full-time, we all do it. Like we've all find that craziness and wing our way through it. It's definitely been that. And honestly, Kim, the first month I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like I'm back in corporate world. I'm back working in the CBD. I'm back trying to spend 20 minutes finding a car park and half an hour driving to work. And I don't want to be here. And I know this is a really good opportunity. This is a good job. But is it worth it? I've got a suit on again and I'm with people I don't know, and are they going to start bitching about me? And you don't get that in guide life. You don't get that, kind of toxic workplace situation. It just doesn't happen. And so I felt really vulnerable again. And then within a short amount of time, the people that I was working with were really valuable people. So I got lucky. And that gave me the confidence to go, hey, I could probably do this job well. I've got a lot of contacts. Mm-hmm. I could make a tourism magazine present pretty well. And so with that confidence then just came, I'm dropping the suit. I'm wearing blunnies to work.
Yes.
I'm doing me, and then I'll feel comfortable in my workplace, and then I'll be able to work better, create better, and do more. So the balance has been a shift. The mindset's been a shift. But still, I'm still folding washing at 11 o'clock at night because I'm still, it's got shit to do, and I'm tailoring itineraries for Shacklife, and it's exhausting, but I'm very set on doing this. And once I've done this job well, I know that I'll have the flexibility to work from home, and, I've just got to build that rapport, and I'm only 3 months into it, and they're happy with what I've created so far. So I want to keep that momentum going. But, come back to me next year. I could be working there, not working and at the shack and having another break.
I couldn't relate anymore. A year's time, like who knows what I would have done. So I'd love to come and talk to you then at that stage and see, because life isn't just, or life, career, anything you want to do, it's not just start end goal. I think there's so many twists and turns, and you can be a different person 1 month to the next, and the people in your life won't always support that. They won't always want the best for you. They won't always treat you well, and that's a really hard lesson to learn. So I really empathize with your experience in that space in particular, because those friendships that we create in those intense environments for work are intense, and they feel very real at the time. And when they fall apart, or when people disappoint you, or you feel let down by the way that they treat you, it really hurts. And to be able to get yourself back up and recognize who you are and how powerful and wonderful you are is hard.
I'm just really stubborn. Great. I am really stubborn. And I think for anyone listening that may value friendships as family, I think that's hard, to sort of realize when you value friendships like family, because you may have lost family like me, and though they aren't who you had hoped. So for me at that time, it was like losing more family. And I think that was the real undoing. But then to, start a place and reconnect, that's what certainly, certainly revalued what I find in people. And so I was really lucky like that. Then it is a shit time to lose anybody. But it is certainly does sort of open your eyes to meeting who you're supposed to be with.
Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful to hear that you're, thriving, doing, new things, exciting things, but always keeping yourself front and centre. Is there any plan for what's next with Tasmanian Shacklife, with the role that you have now? Anything else that you're itching to get stuck into?
There's some beautiful video content coming. There's new opportunities coming. There's some secret shack stays, a new little side leg there. So I'll have a nice handful of secret stays. And just sort of more storytelling around that. And I'm also looking to put together maybe a publication around shacks, and now I'm in the right job to do that.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, there could be a calendar. I'm just saying there could be a calendar this time next year that you're going to want to buy among other things.
Yes, please. That sounds absolutely brilliant.
A shack calendar.
Yes. Not a long drop calendar.
No. That could work.
It'd probably sell, yeah.
They're a dying object, We've got a pretty good long job. Literally, if you're one of those people that sits on their phone, the long drop's probably the only place you get reception at our shack, and also has the best view of the bay. So it's just the perfect place to sit on your phone and watch the birds, boats go by. So
wait, can I assume that some of the beautiful posts that I like on Instagram have been
yes. They've been uploaded and taken from the loo.
That is perfect. If I didn't love them already, I bloody love them now. That's so good. My last question for our chat today is just, other than get on and follow Tasmanian Shacklife on Instagram, is there anything else the listener and I can do to support you on your journey?
Oh, not at all. If anything, if the listener at all has resonated with this crazy whirlwind of a little story I've just told, is just be authentic to yourself. And if you're fighting within this journey of just going, I don't know what I'm doing here, just don't. Okay, far out. Just find a way to take steps forward, especially coming into a new year, to go, okay, what now? And go find it. And I've been blessed enough that I've had an escape to go find that. But find your escape and do it. That's the greatest thing you can do to support me, is when I hear of other women just going, and, I'm done, and what can I do for me? And how's that going to make my life, my family, me better? That's the best thing I can gift anybody. And go find a place of peace. Just do it. Go find a long drop.
Yeah. Make it happen. It couldn't be a more perfect.
Get outside. Yeah. Go for a hike. Do it. Just go do it. When I first started hiking, I had a school backpack, my son's school backpack, and a pair of bloody, fashion do-up boots. And that they weren't even hiking boots. Yeah, and it's because I was adamant that we were going to go for a day hike that day, and just went and did it, and that was really the start of, I did it with my older son, and we spent the entire time laughing about us slipping on our bums, about things we found, and getting lost. So, yeah, that's the other thing. I think if you've got children, just go do these things with them, because it is invaluable.
And just start wherever you can. It doesn't have to
just do it.
Hey?
Yeah, just do it. Just don't muck about. Just go.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. You've inspired me to get out this weekend and hit some trails. It has been such a pleasure to speak with you, Naomi. You have shared your story so openly and so generously. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being part of the podcast. And I'll make sure that I link your beautiful website and your beautiful Instagram page in the show notes so everybody can find them. And I just wish you all the best on all of your twists and turns.
Hopefully, maybe a few more. We don't mind them, hey?
Yeah. No, bring them on. More the better. If you keep creating like this.
I love a road trip.
Exactly. It's been so lovely to chat with you, Naomi. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the stories of starting over with your host, me, Kim Curtin. If you liked the episode and are keen to hear more, please hit the follow button and leave a review. And let's keep the conversation going on Instagram @unemployedandafraid, where there's more goodies and links to today's show notes. See you there.